The world's richest man now owns one of the world's most powerful online platforms. Elon Musk takes control of Twitter, but exactly what will he do with it? And could the platform become a bigger liability than profit maker? I'm Andrea Sankey, and today's newsmaker is Twitter. With hundreds of millions of users worldwide, Twitter is one of the planet's most popular social media sites. And now it is completely under the control of one man. After his $44 billion takeover, Elon Musk wasted no time stamping his authority on the company, firing its entire board of directors. Currently, the richest man in the world, Musk calls himself a free speech absolutist. But what does that mean when claims of free speech can border on hate speech or libel and defamation? We'll debate that in a minute, but first, a look at how Elon Musk took Twitter.
Musk started buying Twitter shares in January this year, and by April, the billionaire had become the largest shareholder with a 9% stake in the company. Then on April 5th, Twitter offered Musk a seat on its board, which he refused. A few days later, he offered to buy the tech giant for nearly $44 billion. Almost 2 weeks later, he reached a deal with Twitter to buy the company and take it private. But the following month, Musk said the takeover was temporarily on hold because of concerns he had regarding the number of fake accounts and spam. Then in July, Musk said he was abandoning his offer altogether, saying Twitter had not provided enough information about the number of spam and fake accounts. Twitter responded by suing the Tesla CEO to force him to complete the deal and honor the terms of the agreement. Then, in a sudden reversal, Musk agreed to go through with his original proposal of $44 billion. 2 weeks later, the richest man in the world confirmed his Twitter takeover was complete.
Well, obviously not everyone is happy with Twitter's new owner. Musk has never been too far from controversy, and his takeover has divided some of the platform's highest profile users. U.S. producer and screenwriter Shonda Rhimes quite concisely wrote, "Not hanging around for whatever Elon has planned. Bye." And filmmaker Rob Reiner said just hours after taking control of this platform, its owner spread crackpot conspiracy theories about the attempted murder of Speaker Pelosi. Now is not the time to leave. Now is the time to fight for our democracy. Vote blue, hold the Congress, then explore options. But one former Twitter user has welcomed the new owner. Donald Trump used his own Truth Social platform to say, "I am very happy that Twitter is now in sane hands and will no longer be run by radical left lunatics and maniacs that truly hate our country." Well, once the deal was complete, Twitter saw one unwelcome surge in usage, a 500% increase in the use of the N-word in just 12 hours. Twitter's head of safety and integrity says it's the work of trolls, but still, the EU has reminded the site's new owner that their anti-hate speech rules will have to be followed.
There are certain activities which are not compliant with the rules, regulations, and laws in the member states. In particular, as you quite rightly point out, things related to hate speech, to criminal activities, to terrorism, etc., etc.
Now, Musk has replied that he will abide by the EU Commission rules, but how can a free speech absolutist provide a platform free from hate speech? And if not, will other Twitter users and advertisers want to be associated with it? Joining me now to debate that and much more are from New York, Dragana Kaurin. She is the executive director at the Localization Lab. From Bremen, Germany is Dennis-Kenji Kipker. He's a professor for IT security law at HSB City University of Applied Sciences. And from Leicester, UK is Eerke Boiten. He is a cybersecurity professor at Montfort University. Thanks all so much for joining me. Let's just start by, getting everyone's opinion here on whether this could be a good thing for Twitter and its users, or could a free speech absolutist just spell doom for a platform like this? Dragana, go ahead.
Well, when we say a good thing for free speech, I don't think this is likely. I don't think Elon Musk is the kind of person who is going to be thinking of how is this going to affect women? How is this going to affect minorities, people for whom there are protection mechanisms put in place with a platform like Twitter? He's asking for example, he's asking for money for a blue check mark, and the whole argument there is first that this is because of bots or because this is because of revenue, but really there's a whole mission here to make this platform easier for extremists, for people who are part of Elon's group there, that he wants to make the platform safer for. He thinks that it's white men, that that are being attacked on Twitter.
Yeah, I want to talk more about specifically the the blue check and the $8 a month charge. But first, let me come to Dennis and just get your opinion on whether you think, I mean, is Dragana giving Elon Musk enough credit?
Yeah, I think this is currently a very problematic situation because on one hand, Elon Musk has said there will be some kind of content regulation, and he has already made a lot of changes. He has fired a lot of people out of the managing board. But on the other hand, we have seen, for example, that Elon Musk has protected statements directly coming from Donald Trump with regard to the storm of the Capitol. So at this moment, I think this is very problematic. And Elon Musk also said that he wants to cut down content moderation. So there will be some kind of sufficient content moderation, and especially in the European Union, we have special legal regulations on content regulation, but it's quite clear that many prominent people, many cybersecurity, social media experts said that it is not possible to have a social network online without any kind of content moderation. I'm quite sure that even though there are these problems that are currently being discussed, that Elon Musk will not change content moderation policies completely.
Right. I want to talk more about specifically the Content Moderation Council he's been mentioning. But first, Eerke, let me get your opinion on his takeover, good or bad?
It's fundamentally bad. It's someone with a lot of money who's bought a new toy and now is finding out that it's actually quite hard to run this particular toy. Free speech absolutism is a very naive philosophy, and it doesn't apply anywhere. All of the internet does some sort of censorship in the service of copyright protection. All of the internet does or needs to do some kind of censorship to protect minorities, to prevent child sexual abuse material being spread, to deal with possibilities of legal responsibility through libel and defamation.
Right. Dennis, let me come back to you then about, what the content moderation issue. I mean, he says he's creating this content moderation council with, quote, widely diverse viewpoints to review content and to decide on account reinstatement. First of all, how would you get widely diverse viewpoints to actually agree on anything?
Yeah, I think this new so-called moderation council is quite problematic because we have something like this already in social network. This is not new because, for example, Meta or with Facebook or Instagram, they already have a so-called oversight board. And there are, for example, people from various different opinions from different camps are in there to decide on rules, for example, for the deletion of tweets or the blocking of accounts. And Musk already said, and he stated that unless this council is not in place, he has announced that the rules will currently not change. But in my opinion, he already also said that Twitter personnel, employees who are dealing with hate posts and disinformation should have just limited access to their internal systems. But these internal systems are very important to regulate hate posts, to regulate disinformation. And the access rights don't have to be changed because otherwise we cannot have an adequate level of moderation of content. And on Tuesday, there will be elections in the United States. And we already have a higher level of disinformation and hate speech on Twitter than before.
Yeah. You know what, Dragana, does the Content Moderation Council he's pitched, and as I say, just pitched because he's thrown out some other ideas as well.
He has a lot of ideas.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit scattered, but does at least this council give you any kind of, confidence that, okay, an effort is being made to make sure, hate speech is under control, trolls are under control, and we've even yet to mention the idea that, they are going to have to staff that kind of content moderation council in multiple languages.
I think it's really clear, probably, I think we can all agree. I don't think that's the goal here, because so 3 years ago, New York Times came out with a story about how content moderation was done at then Facebook, now Meta. And it was basically like every 2 weeks, some engineers and some employees would get together to decide on specific issues. And there was this huge book that was by region, by language, by country. The rules were kind of done haphazardly, and it was horrifying to read, because just how much danger it was putting, minorities in, and just how little attention was being put, for example, in Myanmar, where a genocide happened, where only 4 content moderators were working,
Right.
while in a place like Germany, the country lobbies Facebook to make sure that speech is regulated, people are protected. So something like this it's horrifying to read, because I think for a while we saw Twitter, I think in internet scholarship, we saw Twitter as actually putting good protection mechanisms and setting a good example and being transparent about data and hiring algorithmic bias experts, hiring human rights experts. Vijaya Gade, who was the architect of the policies there, she cried, when she was talking to their staff in April, when this was announced initially, and she was fired the first day. But she's really the architect of these protection mechanisms.
Right. Eerke, maybe in realizing he'd kind of bitten off more than he could chew, especially when it comes to content moderation and the fact that there are, Dragana just mentioned Myanmar, and there were 4 content moderators while, atrocities were being committed, and who's going to monitor that? So now he's actually pitching this kind of video game style mode that would somehow divert content off into different strands, whereby users can take their fights onto the sidelines and not disturb other users. Does that make any sense to you? Could that potentially work?
No. The connection between Twitter and hate speech is that people put hate speech on Twitter because they want an audience. They want to annoy the libs. They want to annoy people, basically, and maybe also for their own echo chambers to some extent. But echo chambers of right-wing hate have lots of their own social networks, where they're also finding out, by the way, that moderation is necessary. So no, I don't think this is going anywhere in that respect.
So Dennis, part of what Musk also sees as a solution to some of the issues here, I guess not least trolling, is charging the $8 a month for verification to fight disinformation and get, trolling under control. I mean, could that be effective? And then, $8 a month, maybe in wealthy countries that could be acceptable, but, what about the rest?
Yeah, I think this is very problematic, because currently these verified accounts, which are recognized by this blue check mark, are of high importance, because they confirm authenticity of an account and make information for this reason more credible. So it's not that easy to share disinformation, false information with these blue checked account. But those who want to remain verified will have to pay in the future. And there had been firstly rumors that it would cost about $20. Now we are at about $8 per month. And that's also what Musk tweeted. However, as you mentioned before, the price may vary from country to country. And it is essential, in my opinion, that it's possible for everyone to get such a blue check mark based on objective content criteria, and not on what one person is willing to pay or where it is possible to pay something. So Twitter is only valuable primarily because many verified accounts of politicians, of celebrities, authorities, and also media experts are there. But it cannot be trusted anymore if everyone can buy this blue check mark for just about $8 per month.
Right. Eerke, I could kind of see you agree and disagree on what you heard.
Yeah, I think the connection between disinformation and verification is rather different. There's a lot of disinformation being spread on Twitter as we speak by people with blue ticks, right? the value of the blue tick is not in spreading disinformation, but it's in authenticity. It's making sure that the people who spread information of whatever kind are indeed the people who say that they are, and that maybe the value of the information can be connected to whatever else is known about these people, for example, through the internet, what jobs they have, etc.
Right. I mean, Dragana, do you think there's also a risk as well for, this becoming a platform only for people who can afford it? Like I said, $8 maybe in the United States sounds acceptable to some, but in other countries, that is just an unaffordable sum of money.
It's also not realistic. So what he has said, by the way, to add to this last comment, last night the White House tweeted something about the biggest Social Security package that the elderly, the seniors will ever get, and there's a feature called Birdwatch where people who are watching who would fact check something and write, be able to write a response. Elon Musk responded to that, calling it community notes. He's not even familiar with the feature, and he said, "I'm so glad, there's this feature here." And all of the people reading his tweet wrote back, "It's called Birdwatch, and it's not just a feature. It takes a lot of work, it's a lot of unpaid work." But so charging users $8 a month, what he has said is this is going to be prorated by country and region, so that you're absolutely right. By the way, $8 a month is somebody's salary. $8 a month, is really expensive in some parts of the world if we want to make this equal. But charging users $8 a month it's not likely to cover $44 billion debt, and it risks driving away influencers, it endangers independent journalists, it endangers human rights activists. The way that even if it wasn't prorated, let's say, so we have 400,000 blue checkmark users on Twitter. This would still make up 4 or 5% of the biggest revenue ads right now, because they are $13 billion in debt to banks. So they have to make $1 billion each year just to make up for the debt. And that's why I'm saying the blue check mark has nothing to do with revenue.
I hosted another panel a few days ago, and I actually asked, his name was Dan Ives. He's an equity analyst who specializes in tech at Wedbush Securities. I asked him, for all Elon Musk's talk about freedom of speech over Twitter, the bottom line for him is that he needs to make some money on this. He won't risk losing advertisers. This is what he replied. We can play this for you quickly.
Well, I mean, there's 44 billion reasons that he doesn't want that to happen. Also, remember, it's not just Musk. You have a lot of partners that are involved in this too. And in order to make it the super app, the WeChat, we'll call it type model, you cannot lose advertisers left and right. And that's why talking the game and the actual reality are two separate things. And this is going to be just a very difficult balance for him, because every move he makes, even as we saw this weekend, is going to be front and center. And you look at the whole Twitter situation to begin with, it's been a head scratcher from the beginning. And I think that's really the focus, not just of the street, of consumers as well as advertisers.
Right. Eerke, I mean, how can he keep the revenue stream coming while avoiding, legal liabilities and all the other issues associated with this?
I'm not into the business side in the way that Dan is. I think it's tough. General Motors have already stopped putting ads on there because of the connection with Tesla. Is it all right if I raise the problematic situation of how Tesla is connected to Twitter this way, and how I'd like to point out.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've said there are a number of conflicts of interest as well because of his other businesses and the governments that he has to deal with that are going to be taking some serious interest in Twitter and what goes out on it now that they kind of have the owner of the company at their mercy. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So China, Tesla is highly dependent on China for materials for producing batteries. China has a checkered history of trying to force censorship on social media, Google being in China at times and not at other times, things like that. And now we've got Elon Musk, who owns Twitter, as well as Tesla, who are highly dependent on China. China has the strongest position it's ever had to make sure that opposition noises get drowned out, or that Chinese government misinformation is not highlighted as such on Twitter as ever.
Right. Dragana, are you
Sorry,
on?
can I add?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we should also add Saudi Arabia here. The second biggest owner right now is Saudi Prince Al Walid bin Talal. So I think both within U.S. government and in other places, people are considering what are the security risks of something like this happening. And as you mentioned, the elections are happening in a week. Right now, the security mechanisms for content moderation, specifically for election misinformation, are reduced to 10 to 15 people in the company have access to these now, a week before the election, less than a week before election.
Right. You know, Dennis, Adidas ultimately had to take a huge loss after investing, some $250 million just to drop Kanye West, who's now back on Twitter. Do you think Elon Musk is going to find himself then in a similar conundrum here?
Yeah, I think this is also a very problematic situation because on one hand, we had this whole debate about Donald Trump account, and I don't think that, for example, Donald Trump will be coming back to Twitter. And from a perspective here with regard to Elon Musk, it is to say that he will definitely have more or a higher emphasis on advertising business than ever before. So I think he will not just put people back that have been deleted for any reasons, for reasons of content moderation, for reasons of hate speech. I don't think that he will put back these people back in business, and because currently Twitter is in the red. And in my opinion, Elon Musk has to do anything to get Twitter out of the red. And this is also a reason why he mentioned that he will cut off personnel up to 50 to 75%. So I think, in my opinion, it is important to see that there are some connections with some other companies such as Tesla and so on. But so far, these are only assumptions that we have. So, for example, that Chinese government may influence decisions of the Twitter management. This has not been proven so far. And I think we currently have to take the debate not to this point of view, but just to the question on how Elon Musk will make Twitter a profitable company.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I disagree. I think we need to follow the money and we need to follow the power. And this absolutely the Saudis as well, because a country where people are being put in jail for putting things on Twitter, right? So yeah, and I like the line that this is a critical takeover happening just before U.S. elections. I'm not going to put conspiracy theory on that, but it is convenient. And I must say, Elon Musk at the moment sounds like Donald Trump in many ways. Anyway, he contradicts himself all the time. He trolls. He announces rash measures, which the world will tell him won't go through. He never really retracts things. We're being, I think, for to a large extent, we're being played and trolled, but we need to look at what's going on behind the scenes and what the real impact of this is in terms of world power.
Right.
Social media to the tune of £44 billion for someone like Elon Musk is not about money in the first place.
Yeah, well, I think he's finding himself a bit conflicted now. We all kind of saw maybe he had a serious bout of buyer's remorse at one point and then tried to take the sale back. But Dragana, we just have a minute left, so I found it interesting that Dennis said he doesn't envision Donald Trump actually getting back on the platform. I'm wondering if you think that's true about, reinstating people like Donald Trump or Jordan Peterson, for example, on Twitter. Do you think they'll get their voice back on the platform?
In many ways, they haven't lost their voice. This platform is, I do think that he's going to put Donald Trump back and some other people, because everything he has said over the past few weeks points to that. I want to add, Twitter is a critical place for civil society movements. It has become a critical place for this, for Arab Spring, for Me Too movement, for Black Lives Matter. And I think that's also what's going to suffer here. We criticize platforms like this so much, but I wanted to add there's something really beautiful, that happens on these platforms, and part of that is because of these protection mechanisms. And they're bringing back Donald Trump, and I think they're going to be pushing out community organizing like this.
We'll really have to see how this evolves, and if that, we said about buyer's remorse, if it somehow comes back and he just suddenly decides to offload this at a loss for himself, this could all change in a minute if something like that happens. And with Elon Musk, hey, we never know. Anyway, that is all the time we have. I'd like to thank all three of my panelists so much for being with us on this edition of The Newsmakers. Our viewers, of course, for tuning in as well. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, and do be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea Sankey. We'll see you next time.